You're listening to the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing and Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Britt Colo, and I'm here today with Ashley Mason, social media consultant at dashofsocial.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ashley.
Hey, Britt. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're such a sweet voice. Oh, you guys are going to love this interview. Okay, so Ashley first reached out to me, I think on Twitter. Did you reach out to me on Twitter? Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, which very much stood out because I'm never on my Twitter anymore. And nobody ever talks to me on Twitter. It's just not a place that I really hang out or do much on. So it definitely stood out. And then we emailed back and forth and I clicked over to her website and I just felt like, yes, this girl is definitely the type of person I want to get in front of my Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast listeners. So I'm really pumped to get to chat with her today, get some insight into her business, her industry, her marketing strategy, and what makes it all tick. So Ashley, are you ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. So first of all, Ashley, tell us, how do you earn your living?
So I am a social media consultant. I typically work with women entrepreneurs who have service-based businesses. I'd say my two biggest services are social media management and social media consulting. So with management, I'm taking over my clients' accounts completely and doing everything from building a strategy to writing content to growing their accounts and really making it all-inclusive, as I like to say. And then I do social media consulting, which I basically describe as teaching my clients what I would do for their marketing strategies if I were to be the one actually handling it. So I kind of give them my step-by-step guidance on how they can do it on their own. So I've been doing this and it's just been so much fun to meet so many new people and work with women who are just totally moving mountains.
That's so cool. I know that a lot of not all, but a lot of our listeners are service-based business owners. So that speaks to them really well. And I love how straightforward your business model is. That stood out to me right away. It's like, either pay me to consult with you and I'll tell you what I would do, or pay me to do it for you. That's how, as simple as it is. That's perfect. I love that. So let's back up and tell us the story of how you came to do this with your life. How have you landed here?
Yeah, definitely. So I started a fashion and lifestyle blog almost 6 years ago. And basically, I grew that blog organically through social media. So whether it was just getting the word out about my blog posts, I was faithfully participating in tweet chats. They were so popular that long ago. And then as I kind of started to grow my blog that way, ended up getting more and more opportunities to start working with smaller companies to do sponsored content, whether it was reviewing their products or attending a press event or even anything else just to kind of help them get their word out. Started to partner with all of these smaller companies. And I realized that because these companies were on the smaller side, they really didn't have a budget for marketing and they just didn't have the capacity to really manage it themselves because they had employees from anywhere from one employee, like a solo entrepreneur, to 4 employees. So they were super small and everyone was just wearing so many different hats. So marketing tended to be the thing that fell under and people tended to forget about. So that's one thing I noticed. And I was kind of like, hey, I grew my blog through social media. I guess I may know something about it. So that really got my wheels spinning and it really piqued my interest in social media. So since I already had relationships with these companies from the fact that I worked with them on my blog, I had offered to do some pro bono work for them. So I had managed their social media themselves. I helped them build strategies. I consulted with them on best marketing practices. And I used all of my experiences as a case study. So not only was I helping these companies to get a bigger presence online and also therefore grow their visibility, I was also teaching myself more about marketing, and it really kind of got me to fall in love with it. And then now here I am.
Wow. Okay. I have a couple questions in there. What were you doing amidst starting a blog? Because most people know, if they've been around the block a little bit here, they know that just starting a blog doesn't mean that you're making any money. So what sparked the interest in starting a blog, and what were you doing during that time in your life?
So I actually started a blog when I was a sophomore in high school. I'm actually only 21 right now.
Oh my goodness. No kidding. Are you in college?
Yes, I'm going to be a senior in the fall.
That is so cool. Okay, keep going. Tell us more.
So I think it was September when I started it. Yes, September of my sophomore year of high school. And at my high school, sophomore year was known to be just like the hardest year ever. It was just a really weird transition time for a lot of people. That's when a lot of the most difficult classes were happening. And so I kind of realized that I was going to be under a lot of stress. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be under a lot of stress from school, I need a creative outlet that'll kind of help me to relieve that stress, and also put my time towards something that's really of interest for me. And ever since I was little, I'd always had, I guess, a dream of starting a blog, but I just never started one because I was like, I don't have anything to write about. And so I ended up getting really into fashion during my freshman and sophomore year. And so that's when I really kind of got the inspiration to start a blog, and it ended up working out because when I just kind of stressed myself out with school and everything, my blog was really that outlet to really unwind and express my creative side rather than using the logical side that I had for schoolwork.
Wow, that's really intuitive and savvy for a sophomore in high school. Like, I want to say most of us don't start looking for quote unquote creative outlets, like seriously looking for them for a reason because our lives are stressful until we're in our late 20s. That's incredible. So you just finished up your junior year in college, right? Is that right?
Yes.
And you're doing Dash of Social while you're going to college. And what are you studying right now?
Marketing, of course.
Oh, perfect. Brilliant. Okay, good. Smart girl. Do you still run your blog?
No, I actually stopped posting consistently probably I'd say probably 2 years ago. Once I started Dash of Social, that's when I kind of pushed my blog, which was called Lily and Lemons, off to the side, because one thing I realized was that I kind of grew out of my blog, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it really served a purpose for me, but I think anyone kind of goes through a phase where things that they once loved, they're kind of like, okay, that's not really that exciting anymore. And so I kind of got to that point where writing blog posts just kind of became not necessarily dreadful, but just kind of more like a chore rather than a choice. And so that's when I kind of realized, okay, maybe I just kind of need to lay the whole blogging thing to rest, especially if I'm starting a business. I'm going to need more time to focus on that. So I kind of ended up stop posting on it, but it's still up there for people to look at and everything, but not something that I'm actively pursuing now.
That's so cool to hear, because what you just did was you gave people permission to lay down what feels like a chore and no longer a choice. You just gave that to people, which is so inspiring, because I think especially when I can hear it in your voice, your blog really meant a lot to you. That was a part of you almost, and an outlet for you for a while. And it definitely served its purpose. And then you allowed it to kind of, okay, I'm going to move on from this. It's a really good lesson to anybody at any age, at any stage in life. You can let that go, even though it meant something really special before. So that's so cool to hear. So now tell me about, I guess we'll talk about what's going on right now in a little bit, but let's talk about how you got your first few clients, your social media consulting clients. You said that you offered pro bono work at first, and then how did you get someone's attention and earn your first dollar under your business name?
So yeah, I had ended up doing pro bono work for those companies, and I had created a contract too, because I wanted to make sure that it was mutually beneficial to both of us. So I had said, okay, I'll do this pro bono work for, I think I might have said like 3 months, because I personally feel like with social media, you really can't start to see real results until at least 3 months after you're working a strategy on it. So I had said I'd do 3 months for pro bono. And then at the end of those 3 months, they either had the opportunity to walk a separate way with no strings attached, or they could end up signing on for paying me. So some of the companies did have the budget and ended up staying with me for a little bit. And then other companies ended up just not having the budget and therefore had to resort to other options. But that was how I kind of got my first paying clients, was that my pro bono clients ended up becoming paying ones. I also got into Facebook groups a lot and really built relationships through there. And that's how I got a lot of my first clients. And then not only kind of building relationships with people who are looking for social media help, but also I really made a point to build relationships with business owners in general, because now I've gotten to the point where a lot of my clients come from referrals. So I really made it a habit to just get to know people and what they do and what types of people they work with, and just kind of really starting those friendships, so to say. Ended up getting people to refer people that they know to come to work with me.
Those first pro bono clients, they were people that you had worked with. They were already in your network because of your blog, correct?
Yes, they ended up being actually most of them retail companies, because I had worked with them to do product reviews of their shirts or whatever they were selling. And so I got kind of started in the retail space, but then ended up branching out after that.
Perfect. Okay. Because sometimes it's hard for people to connect the dots of, okay, maybe I need to offer some, I just need to get in there and get dirty and work with somebody's brand, whether they're paying me or not, and show my worth. But then the question becomes, well, where do I find somebody willing to do that? And the answer is usually somebody that already knows you and someone you already know. So that's positive. And obviously you are showing off your grit and chutzpah, if you will, by running what sounds like an awesome blog. So kudos to that. Okay. So you are, correct me if I'm wrong, you're really running Dash of Social now off of pretty heavy client referrals. That's pretty tried and true for you right now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because I now gotten to the point where I actually don't really like to promote myself. I don't really like to feel salesy. And so that kind of relates to the work that I do for my clients. I really help them to build relationships with people, because it's those relationships that convert to sales further down the line. So I'm not the type of person who's like, hey, this is my social media service, you need to purchase it. I really work on being vulnerable and everything and building relationships that way. But now I've gotten, I'm particularly visible in this Facebook group that's local to Boston. It's called Boston Businesswomen. And so a lot of my clients come from there, because people will message me and be like, hey, I saw that you were recommended on Boston Businesswomen. Here's what my business is and here's why I'd like to work with you. So that's gotten to that point where people just hear about me through that particular outlet and other outlets. And now it's just people end up coming to me, which is saves me a lot of time, because I have spend so much time marketing for my clients that sometimes my marketing just kind of falls off a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. I know how that is. That's cool. Okay, so now you're probably on summer break right now. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you're probably like, oh my goodness, thank gosh. But take us into how you balance your business with being a full-time student.
So I say that I am so thankful I was blessed with good time management skills, because if I was a procrastinator, it would be really difficult. People think I'm crazy when I say this, but Mondays through Fridays, I wake up at about 4:15 in the morning, because I have a very, particular routine. I like to get to my gym at 5 a.m. and go for a run. And then once I get back, that's how I start my day. But I really make sure to kind of plan things out and really kind of take a look at my to-do list and prioritize what I need to get done. So, and I'm also really thankful that obviously with a college schedule, you can really choose which days and times you want to take classes. So one thing that I've done that works really well for me is that I'll tend to overload maybe 1 or 2 days during the semester. So that way I have 1 or 2 days off. And so, for example, this upcoming fall on Tuesdays, it's going to be a little bit rough, but I'm going to be having 5 classes pretty much from 8:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night. But because I'm doing that, I have Mondays and Wednesdays completely off to do whatever I'd like. So I really make sure to kind of, even though I'm overloading my school schedule on some days, it really opens up a full day of work so that I can, one, get my schoolwork done, but more importantly, have the time to be working on my clients' stuff.
Perfect. That's really smart. Well, first of all, what are you working on this summer? Anything special going on? Any kind of goals that you've set for yourself this summer? Or is it kind of like giving yourself a rest and keeping up with the things that, the current things that you have going on?
Yeah, definitely. So I have two things that I've been working on that I'm really excited about. So one is that I started working with a business coach in May. So I actually perfectly timed it so that the first day I started working with this business coach was my first day of summer break. So I started working with this business coach, and I'm going to be working with her for 6 months. But one thing that I'm going to be doing with my business is that I'm going to be transitioning from just offering social media services to offering basically an umbrella of marketing services. So I'm going to start offering blog writing, email marketing. I'm also going to do some like booking services if you want to be booked on podcasts. I also offer SEO currently, so that's just still going to keep going on. But I'm going to be branching out some more services like that because I realized that there were so many times where potential clients were coming to me and they're like, do you offer such and such service? And I'm like, no, I don't, but here's someone who does. And eventually I was like, oh my gosh, every time I refer someone to someone else, that's a client that I'm losing. And so I've been working with this business coach who's really awesome to help me build a team because obviously as entrepreneurs, we just can't do it all no matter how many times we try to. We really need others to help us out. So I've been working with her to build a team to help me offer those services. So that's really exciting. And then the second thing that I've been working on is continuing to grow a free resource that I have. So last August, I started this free resource called Dash of Visibility. And basically, it's just kind of like an email list, but I kind of describe it as I find women entrepreneurs who are looking for opportunities. So they're looking to be a guest in a podcast. They're looking to be an expert on a summit. They're looking to write a post on someone else's blog, anything like that. And I connect them to women who have a podcast but desperately need guests, or they're hosting a summit but don't know where to find the experts, anything like that. So every week, every Wednesday and Friday, I send out these opportunities. So for example, yesterday I sent out an opportunity for a summit that's going to be hosted. And if the women who are part of my little community are interested in pursuing that opportunity, all they do is send me an email saying, hey, I'm interested. Let me know what to do. I send them the email or otherwise contact information from the person who's hosting that opportunity, and then they end up reaching out to that person. So I'm not actually booking these people, but I'm just kind of giving them the information so that they can do it themselves. But one thing I'm going to work on doing this summer is really continuing to grow that and ramp up the opportunities that I'm sending out because I'd really ideally love to send out more podcast opportunities because that's what people really, really love to do nowadays.
Absolutely. So that's a free resource, you said, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
completely free.
So we'll definitely drop the link over to that in the show notes, and we'll probably talk about it before the end of the episode. So if you're listening, we'll give you the direct link to go to grab that. I can't help but ask, and if you don't have a concrete answer, it's totally fine. You've got 1 year of college left. What do you think you're going to do after that?
I would love to go full time. So I have been working so hard so that way I can get to that point. I'm fortunate to say that if I were to graduate this past May with everyone else, I would be in the position to go full time right now. But obviously I can't just drop out of school with 1 year left. So I'll be going full time next May. And that's why I've really been excited to work with a business coach to kind of further bring me along that point and continue growing. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing because and I think a lot of entrepreneurs obviously relate to this because they own a business. I just can't picture myself a part of the 9-to-5 lifestyle. And so that's why I've been working so hard is so that I don't have to kind of adapt to that lifestyle and can therefore do my own thing.
Well, I will say right now, girlfriend, you got it. Like you can absolutely do that. And I'm so excited to watch you do that. That's incredible. You're blowing me away by all the steps you're taking with that foresight of going full time and already doing and being so much for your clients and being so much for your future self already. It's really inspiring to see and hear from you. I can just hear the energy and passion just oozing out of you, which is always so cool. Like I love to hear women on fire like that. It just gives me such joy. And also it makes me want to do and be the things that I dream of doing and being, right? And it's just, I just love it. I hope my listeners are picking up on that too. Even just one of them, just gaining some inspiration and empowerment from you, because I'm definitely feeling it right now. So thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
you will do exactly what you want to do now and after graduation. That's going to be super cool to watch. And it's really cool to hear you talking about building a team.
Yeah. That's been a big step for me, but it's been a lot of fun because, well, it's kind of been hard to almost let it go because I tend to set very high expectations for myself. And so I have to constantly remind myself the expectations that I set for myself are sometimes unrealistic. So I can't expect to set those same exact expectations for other people. So I actually spoke to someone the other day. I went to a networking lunch type thing for women in business. And this is actually great advice that I think anyone who's building a team can apply to. The woman said that someone else told her this, but basically, if you are hiring someone else, if they do 70% of what you expect yourself to do, then that's good enough. And I thought about it and I was like, that is so true.
Yeah, that is really true. It's so true. And there's something to be said for having high standards for yourself and high expectations. That's what makes someone achieve what they'd like to achieve. And always blending that with allowing yourself to be right where you're at too. And we're all going through that. I have these types of conversations all the time. I don't know a single female on the face of this earth that isn't just figuring out that blend day by day all the time. So it's cool to hear you say that you're working through that. And again, that future foresight, like doing things for your future self. It's super smart. Okay. I would like to know what inspires all of this drive and work ethic. And it seems like intuition to keep trying things and keep going forward. What inspires all of this?
Yeah, so I'd say there's about two things. So the first thing is that I kind of mentioned earlier, I just can't picture myself working in an agency setting. And so even though I've never actually had that experience, I've had friends who are older than me who did that. And I just can't completely agree with the fact that you may be handed clients who own businesses that go against your morals, or you have a limit of 20 clients supposedly at that company, but somehow you end up with 30 clients and you're not getting paid for those extra 10 clients that you have on your workload. Or I just think it's really unrealistic to expect people to work within the 9 to 5 time frame because everyone has completely different hours of productivity. And so forcing someone to sit at a desk for those 8 hours when it may not be the most productive time for them is just really unrealistic and you're not getting your money's worth. So just kind of thinking about what agencies and the marketing industry tends to be like when you work for someone else is really big because I'm like, how could I be working so hard for someone and get paid a sliver of the amount of money they're making off of me when I can work for myself and make so much more money? So that's one thing that I just couldn't wrap my head around. It's like I can work for myself just as hard or even harder and make more money that way. So that's one thing that's really been driving me is that I'm really passionate about just having my own business. And the second thing is that it was January 2016, the day after my 19th birthday. My mom was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And so that just kind of made me realize like, whoa, if I have a dream, I need to pursue it because life is clearly just too short. So ever since I was little, I've always known I've wanted to own a business. I've always had the entrepreneurial drive, but I just had no clue what I wanted to do. And so when blogging really opened me up to social media, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to own a social media consulting business. And so that's kind of really where it all started, was just kind of realizing that if we have something we want to do, we need to do it now because there's no time to wait. So I had launched my business. That happened in January. So I launched my business that September after that. And I spent the entire summer mapping it out. And so that's what's continuing to keep me work hard, is that knowing that we really don't know when things can completely get flipped upside down.
I am totally speechless. I don't know what to say other than I have goosebumps all over my body, and I'm so grateful to you and what you just said. I'm so glad that you just said all of that because I can't imagine that that's really easy to share, and it's so important because it's so true.
I know, and it's
so
like
true.
It really is. And like right now, my family's just going through a really tough time with it all. And I'm so like, I mean, this probably sounds like so cliche, but like, I'm so thankful to be my own boss because like I can work everything that I do around whatever I want. So it's like literally in December, it was so crazy. I was home alone with my mom and she had a seizure, and it was literally half an hour before I needed to speak with one of my clients on the phone for an hour-long phone call. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have the right like state of mind to be focusing on business stuff. This isn't just going to be productive. So I texted my client, like told her what happened, and she was like, oh my God, don't even worry about the phone call. Like, we'll reschedule that for another day. Like, just focus on your mom. And she was texting me the rest of the day, checking up on me and making sure that I was okay. And it just like blew me away. And that day just made me feel so grateful because I was like, if I worked for a company, I doubt they would be that flexible. But here I am telling people what I need to do, and they're completely respecting it. So just going through that and really being able to work around the times that really are best for me has been like a game changer.
That's so powerful. Thank you for that. That's just a big time. Thank you. All right. So I've got one last question we have to end with, and then we definitely have to talk about that free resource that you have about visibility. But one last question we have to end with. I want you to look back and tell us what advice you would give to your, I think, 15-year-old self when you were first starting your blog. That girl probably on her bedroom floor, hunched over her MacBook, trying to, find like a creative outlet and just figure all this stuff out. What would you say to her?
I would say, honestly, just to follow your passion, because if something is of interest to you, pursue it. The money will come afterwards. So passion always turns to paycheck. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is that before I realized I wanted to work in social media, I was like completely convinced I'd be working in a bank or an accountant or something along those lines. And it's my blog that opened me up to social media. And so now, like, sometimes I'll just be working and I'll literally stop and be like, oh my God, I'm doing this because I took a chance and started something that was completely new to me, and I worked hard at it. And so that's one thing that I'd say is that focus on what lights you up, and the money will always come after it, no matter what it is.
Good one. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so before we go, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online, and specifically where they can go to find that free resource that you spoke about?
Yeah, so you can find me at dashofsocial.com. I'm also Dash of Social on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then if you would like to sign up to receive these free opportunities twice per week, or even if you have an opportunity you need to fill, you can sign up at dashofvisibility.com.
Dash of visibility and Dash of social. I love it. So smart. Okay, you heard her, girls. Go check her out, send her some love, and then hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from Ashley over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too. And all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.